Go ahead, Kuntal.
फर्स्ट टाइम उन्होंने ड्रिंक की हालत में मुझ पे हाथ उठाया था, तो मैं अपने ससुर के पास गई और मैंने उनको बोला कि इन्होंने मुझे मारा है। तो उनका कहना ये था कि लड़की जात का काम ही होता है कि वो ज़िंदगी भर पिटती रहे। मैं अंदर से इतना ज़्यादा नर्वस थी और डरी हुई थी, मैं डिसाइड ही नहीं कर पा रही थी कि मुझे आगे क्या करना है। उसके बाद मैं अपने मम्मी पापा के पास गई और मैंने उनसे बोला कि मुझे इस तरह से मारा गया है और मैं उनके पास अब नहीं जाऊंगी। उन्होंने वहाँ पे भी आके मुझे इतनी बुरी तरह मारा कि मैं 2 घंटे तक बेहोश रही। उस दिन तो मैं बच गई, लेकिन मैंने फिर डिसाइड किया कि बस अब और नहीं। मेरी जो शादी हुई थी धोखे से हुई थी, वो एजुकेटेड भी नहीं थे और कोई जॉब भी नहीं थी। और मेरे माइंड में ये चलता था कि क्या कभी मैं इन सारी चीज़ों से बाहर निकल पाऊंगी। हम लोग जिस माहौल और एरिया से आते हैं वहाँ पे लोग ज़्यादा एजुकेटेड और पढ़े लिखे नहीं हैं और पुरुष प्रधान सोच वाले ज़्यादा लोग हैं। तो जो हम लोग कुछ करते भी हैं तो सारी चीज़ें ना हमारे अगेंस्ट होती हैं, जिसकी वजह से हमें काफ़ी प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं। मैंने अपने घर में नहीं बताया था क्योंकि ड्राइविंग के लिए घर में कोई अलाउड नहीं करता, तो मैंने घर में झूठ बोला था कि मैं कंप्यूटर क्लास के लिए जा रही हूँ। जब मेरी फर्स्ट जॉब लगी थी और गाड़ी मैंने अपने घर के सामने लगाई थी, मेरी मम्मी खुशी के मारे रो पड़ी थी और मेरे पापा काफ़ी हैप्पी थे उस दिन।
The livelihoods option that are available for resource poor women are generally very traditional in nature, like sewing, stitching, embroidery, or beauty parlor. Non-traditional livelihood is something which challenges women to go out and work against the gender stereotype. They give them the agency and they give them chance to grow themselves and empower themselves. But society in general, parents, they were skeptical what will happen to their safety, how women will be able to drive. When we started, there was no women commercial driver who was operating on the road. When Azad trains the women, Sakha ensures each and every woman that is trained by Azad Foundation find remunerative and dignified jobs. We believe just skill training is not enough. It has to have the component of personal development.
जब मेरी आज़ाद में ट्रेनिंग चल रही थी, उसी के दौरान मैं अपने शादी से कैसे बाहर निकलना है ये भी तय कर रही थी। आज़ाद की ट्रेनिंग में जो हमें एम्पावरमेंट की ट्रेनिंग मिली, उसकी वजह से मैं अपने फैसले अब खुद ले पाती हूँ। अब मैं इंडिपेंडेंट हूँ और अपनी लाइफ में काफ़ी कुछ अचीव कर पाई।
The lockdown has brought enormous challenges for women drivers and their livelihoods. Almost all women drivers are left without any work. Lockdown has also put a lot of people under misery, food insecurity. So what we thought is that why don't we use the energy of these women drivers, the leadership of these women drivers to involve them in relief operations.
जब कुछ भी काम नहीं था और सब कुछ बंद था तो आज़ाद ने एक स्कीम बनाई राहत सामग्री बांटने की। सब कुछ हम ही ने किया। किसकी नौकरी छूट गई है, किसके पास आमदनी आ रही है, इन सब चीज़ों को हम ही ने ध्यान रखा और हमारे द्वारा एक लिस्ट बनाई गई और उन तक राहत सामग्री पहुंचाई गई। कभी कभी मैं ये सोचती हूँ कि अगर मैं आज़ाद से जुड़ी ना होती तो मैं इस बुरे दौर में कहाँ जाती, किससे मदद मांगती। जब मैं 17 साल की थी तो 17 साल की उम्र में मेरी बड़ी बहन के साथ मेरी शादी कर दी गई, तो उसी बीच मेरी पढ़ाई भी रुक गई। जब मैं वहाँ सिलाई सेंटर सिलाई सीखने गई तो वहीं पर मेरे को आज़ाद के लोग मिले जो आज़ाद का प्रचार कर रहे थे ड्राइविंग का। आज़ाद में मैंने दूसरे दिन ही जाके अपना नाम लिखाया। ट्रेनिंग भी करती थी और घर की पूरी जिम्मेदारी सब कुछ घर में संभालती थी और वो सफ़र बड़ा कठिन था मेरे लिए। मुझे हैरानी होती है अपनी यात्रा पे, उस गीता में इस गीता में तो बहुत फ़र्क है। मैं कहाँ बोलती नहीं थी, घर में रहती थी, घूंघट पल्ले में रहने वाली गीता, और आज की गीता जो समाज सेवा में भी जुड़ गई है। मुझे बहुत खुशी होती है, मैं एक महिला ड्राइवर हूँ और मैं दूसरी महिला को उनके घर सुरक्षित आत्मविश्वास के साथ पहुँचाती हूँ।
जहाँ एक तरफ लोगों की जॉब्स जा रही थी, वहीं आज़ाद ने आज़ाद की महिलाओं का काफ़ी साथ दिया और हमारी जॉब बरकरार रही और हम अपने घर में आर्थिक रूप से सपोर्ट कर पाए। जब से लॉकडाउन धीरे धीरे कम होने लगा है तो धीरे धीरे हमारी सखा की बुकिंग्स भी होने लगी हैं और हमारा काम बढ़ रहा है। तो अब मैं एयरपोर्ट की तरफ ही जा रही हूँ अपने पिकअप्स के लिए।
They have not only changed their own life, they have changed the lives of their family, they have changed the life of their communities, and also they brought in significant change in the ecosystem because now ecosystem is accepting women drivers.
पहले इतनी खुश नहीं थी, जब से मैं ड्राइवर बनी हूँ तब से मैं बहुत खुश हूँ।
जब से मैं आज़ाद से जुड़ी हूँ मैंने लोगों को फेस करना सीखा है।
जब से मैं आज़ाद से जुड़ी हूँ मैं अपनी फैमिली को सपोर्ट कर रही हूँ।
जब से मैं आज़ाद में जुड़ी हूँ मेरा आत्मसम्मान बहुत बढ़ गया है और अब मैं हूँ आज़ाद।
हमारी जो लाइफ है वो काफ़ी संघर्ष भरी रही है और ये अभी अंत नहीं है, ये शुरुआत है। इसके आगे अभी हमें और भी आगे जाना है और अपने साथ और भी महिलाओं को लेके आगे बढ़ना है।
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 197th webinar, which is being hosted by the Destination Knowledge Center. I'm Tejashree, and I'm going to be the moderator for the session today. I know a lot of you joined in early, but I hope most of you were able to view the entire video or a part of the video, which beautifully portrayed the journey of women who were associated with the Azad Foundation. Azad Foundation is a not-for-profit organization which was established in 2018 and has been committed to helping women from underprivileged backgrounds to stand up for themselves in the society. And as you saw, they have been able to accomplish this through a well-rounded initiative that focuses on personal development and not just survival skills. Today, we have with us Ms. Amrita Gupta, who has been associated with Azad Foundation, to tell us more about its journey and initiatives. To tell you about Amrita, she has been associated with Azad Foundation for 4 years, and she's a development researcher with over 12 years of experience in research and advocacy. She holds a master's in sociology and public health, and her areas of specialization include gender and vulnerable communities, women and young people's livelihoods, and health. Amrita is currently the Program Director, Research Advocacy and Communication Coordinator of a Non-Traditional Livelihood Network and Rise Up Gender Equity Leader for the India cohort since 2020. Thank you for joining us today, Amrita. I now pass on the floor to you to tell us more about Azad Foundation and its initiative.
Thank you, Tejashree. I'll just share my screen. Just a minute.
Yeah.
For all those who've seen the video, I don't have to say much because the video does say most of what we do and how the transformation happens through the voices of these people, of the people who've been associated with Azad. Azad started his journey in 2008. Tejashri, you said 2018. It's been a decade since we've been, more than a decade since we've been in operation. No worries. So I hope you can see my screen. Yeah.
Yes, Amrita.
Okay.
Yes.
So when Azad started its work and in 2008, we began with an idea that, we will challenge norms, because like you see in the video that women are definitely getting into skill training, but what type of skill training are women exposed to, or getting access to? They are mostly skills which have lower remunerative paths. So a stitching or a domestic work, the amount of remuneration you get or the dignity you get to that for that kind of a job is something that is questionable, and we all know that. So when Azad started thinking of livelihood opportunities for women and training women, we thought that, let's talk about areas of work which we call non-traditional livelihoods, which, of course, I mean, we don't say that it is like stitching is traditional and driving is non-traditional, but an area of livelihood that gives dignity, that disrupts norms, that disrupts the traditional gender normative structure that we have, that allocates work according to certain norms. That is what we said was non-traditional livelihoods. So we decided that let's talk about women in transport, because at the time that we started work, women were there were no women commercial drivers operating in that space. And women and mobility has been an issue. I mean, it's not an issue, but it's a challenge. Women's mobility is restricted. As soon as they enter the puberty phase, there are many spaces through which women's mobility is restricted. I don't need to give figures on this, but we all know that women's access to education is restricted because, schools are far off. How will the woman go? Because, outside spaces, the spaces outside home are unsafe, right, for women? That's what we are told all the time. But spaces within home, unfortunately, if you see the data, are also very unsafe for women, and more so. So one of the ways we thought we wanted to start this process of, empowering women was also through not just a livelihood opportunity, but a livelihood opportunity that puts them in the public space, that makes public spaces for women. Hence transport, and hence Women with Wheels came into being. So Women with Wheels is actually a combination of Azad Foundation, which provides the training, and we are a non-for-profit, as Tejashri said, and we provide the training. We have a holistic transformative training structure. We also engage with young men and women in communities to create an ecosystem that supports women to access training and to access jobs and sustain them. After that, I mean, once women are trained, what do these women do after getting trained? Should we just leave them? When we started Azad, we realized that, if we just train women and ask them to go and get jobs in an industry which is not open to them, then it would be counterproductive. Hence, Sakha came into being. Sakha is a livelihood partner of Azad, and Sakha, of course, also runs Sakha cabs in Delhi and Jaipur, and we are also there in Kolkata and Indore. I will be going in more detail there. So Sakha came into being as a livelihood partner, which enables all these women who are trained to access the market. So train women, talk to them. So it's a more comprehensive structure that we started with. So our mission and vision, I've already gone into this, and I'm just going to go over this. So when we started our strategy, since I'm going to highlight this right now. So when we started work, our strategy was that, training is not a silver bullet. You just can't train women and expect them to make the changes in their lives, in their change their reality overnight. So most of these women also, we realized when we started, about 9 women had come in to train, because as the person on the video was saying, all the women are told that driving is not for women. This is not a job that women should be doing. In fact, even now, all the women who come to Azad, I mean, even when we ask them, we do regular case studies with women, they say, I mean, approximately 86% of them say their families were opposed to the idea when they came. So if families are opposed to the idea, community is opposed to the idea, how will women come in? That is where Azad's engagement starts. We engage with these marginalized communities. We are there in these communities, understand their needs, also assist these communities to engage with their issues, so that there's a trust that is built. Based on that trust, and over and above that trust, what we do is we engage with the communities for understanding how women can get into training, talking to women, informing their families, to say that, women can become drivers. Women can take up this as a profession. There are women who are doing it. Once we do that and get the, if not negotiations powers, help women negotiate. If they can't negotiate, then some of the women negotiate in the way that, they say that we are doing some computer training, and then later on they go and once their training is over, they go and show their parents where they are going. But there are different ways of negotiation that happen. So when we are engaging, we engage with the communities, the families, and then the trainees. So our engagement starts with the community, then goes on to the families, and that's how trainees come into the system, come to Azad to train. While they are training, they are exposed to a gamut of, technical as well as what we say skill plus plus. That is transformative training, where they learn about their rights, where they learn about communication, where they learn about self-defense, they learn about digital skills, so how to navigate Google Maps. It's not just about saying that, you can drive, or you just teach them the skill and get them a driving license. But how do they become a professional? That is very important. So it is a holistic training that trains women to become professionals. If they are stopped, for example, if they are on the road, and if they are stopped by the police and they ask them about laws or something, you're not supposed to be here. If the woman is not aware of her rights, if she's not aware of the laws, then how is she going to negotiate or talk to them? So that is very important also. How is she going to communicate with her customers or her clients if she doesn't know how to communicate? Often English is the language that we use, and most of these women are not conversant with the language. At least that basic skill needs to be given to them. How about job readiness? Can we expect a first generation woman to become, savvy with a CV, with how to dress, how to come on time? All of this is part of job readiness training and happens. So it is a holistic training that these women go through, and it is a 6 to 8 month training that happens, post which these women are offered employment opportunities in transport through Sakha. However, like I was saying, that when we started off, the markets were not open for women drivers. So the other work that we also do through our monitoring, and some of the work that I take on at Azad, is through our monitoring and research, through regular conversations, information, knowledge management, we advocate for opening markets in transport for women, and also advocate with customers, with clients, saying that women can drive. We have to counter issues like they are frail, they can't handle a car. Will they be able to it's a machine. It requires technical skills. So you have to demonstrate the idea, not just by showcasing that women do it, but also through creating those role models who say that who can build the trust in a market to accept women drivers. So it's also negotiation, it's also trust building. So this is the holistic strategy on which the Women with Wheels and Azad Foundation's work happens. We started in 2008 in Delhi. We went to Jaipur in 2012. And thereafter, we went to Calcutta and then Chennai. But if you see, we have different colors for different here. So all the places where Azad is directly working and expanding is in purple. And one of the very key strategies that Azad uses for expansion, for scale up, is also through partnerships. And these are partners who are present in these locations. For example, we started with Indore in 2015, went on to Ahmedabad, and now we have partners in Bhubaneswar and Lucknow as well. These are partners who are working with communities, who are working in these areas, and they expressed the need to join this technical space, that they also wanted women to be trained as drivers. And hence, due to mutual collaboration, Azad provides technical assistance and technical collaboration to them, and they started training women from their communities. That's how the model Women with Wheels also expands. That is that's the vision that we have, that everywhere we do not need to go and set up an office ourselves, but we can provide that kind of technical support and become, through partnerships, expand the idea. For example, also expand the idea of women in transport as well. For example, in Lucknow, when we started, and when we usually do a feasibility before we begin work to understand what is the market, what kind of acceptance is there. And in Lucknow, we realized that, it's not cab drivers who would probably get acceptance, but the need of the hour was the women in e-rickshaw drivers. And since the nature of the city was also such that, e-rickshaws were more prevalent there. So we used the same training model, changed the technical training, and here women survivors actually, being trained as e-rickshaw drivers. So the model essentially is to promote women in transport across board. Just to, whom do we work with largely? We work with mostly marginalized women who come from marginalization across class, across caste groups, and across minority communities. So, multiple axes of marginalization. We also have a number of women who are single mothers, who join, train with us and have now become successful Sakha drivers as well. So as I had said that, our first step into the community is through outreach and mobilization. And that is something that we also advocate very actively, that, unless, for example, the skill training that we all know, most of the skill training that is given in institutions today. A lot of institutions impart skill training to young women and in different entrepreneurships. But are these young women actually aware that these skill trainings are happening? Our information and our presence in the community tells us that imparting that information is also very essential. So 60% of the women who have actually enrolled in Azad came to know that women can enter transport only because we went in and we spoke about it. We mobilized them. And also 50% of these women did not have their documentation with them. For a driving license, you need a documentation. And they did not know, because they are mostly migrants, and they did not know how to get their citizenship documents or identity documents, or how to access which municipality to go to. They were afraid. And that is the reason why Azad engages in creating that kind of a support structure. So Azad's mobilizers, and we also have community level change agents who enable these women to access these documents, access other problems if they have. For example, we have also assisted women survivors to access legal counseling and support. So the process is not just about you get a woman into the system, train her, and then leave her. It is about a holistic support, creating an ecosystem around the woman that supports her to negotiate about unpaid care work. We all know about that unpaid care work. The burden of unpaid care work has increased about fourfold almost during COVID, and women are bearing the brunt of it, right? So how are they supposed to negotiate? They do need a support structure that tells them how to, enables them to negotiate. They do need men who also enable such negotiations to happen. And that is the reason why we work not just in communities with the community at a broader level, but specifically we work with young men. We work with young adolescent girls. So it is more of a life cycle approach that we take. So we engage with young boys and young girls because they are the system, they are the next generation, they are the ones who will take the change to the next level. So imparting them training about jobs, about gender norms, about, for example, with women, we try to engage them and connect them with different kinds of, STEM related work that is happening in ITIs. So how do they access that information? How do they negotiate for higher education? That is the work that we do with young girls. With young boys, we enable them to think beyond what the norms tell them, to think out of what the patriarchal norms, the systemic norms that say that men are supposed to work, women are supposed to be at home. So why can't men participate in household work? How much time does it take to assist the process? Assist your mother so that she gets some time, free time for herself. So impressionable young minds who bring about this change in their household and in their communities. Similarly, we also work with young leaders, young women who want to become leaders in their communities. We take them through a year-long feminist leadership training course, and these young women then become champions of their community. So, for example, we are not going to be there in the community. We have realized that at night, in the day, all the time, we are not there in the community, but the community leaders are there in their communities. They stay in these communities, and they are the change makers whom we are just enabling and assisting so that the community can have a structure, a support structure available. So, for example, this is a daycare center that these community leaders have opened in their own community, facilitated only by our training and some assistance. So they are enabling all the women in and around that space to leave their young children so that they can go out and work. So creating this kind of, sustainable change is what we aim to achieve. Our training, I have already gone in some detail, is technical. It has empowerment. It has the empowerment component. It has section reproductive rights, health, self-defense, first aid. If you're on the road and something happens to another person, or on the road, or something happens to even the person who's traveling with you, are you equipped with first aid? Professionalism, decision making, critical thinking, all of these come through the kind of training that we take them through, communication training, so that they are confident and they can take the spaces that they are claiming. They're claiming the spaces on the road. During the pandemic, we realized that, earlier we used to train women only as cab drivers, but during the pandemic, we realized that, the e-commerce is the need of the hour. So we also started training women in e-scooters. And now we offer training for women in two-wheelers as well as four-wheelers, as well as, e-rickshaw in Lucknow, like we said. So we also adapt to the changing market need. And that is how we are trying to keep, women also accessing whatever the need of the market is. We try to adapt so that women can get access to more opportunities. This is some of the things that we have been able to achieve. Not a lot, but I would say still a drop in the ocean, but still something that we can be proud of. We are very, very proud of that. Especially the number of safe rides that these women have provided. And when we calculate safe rides here, we say 1.5 million safe rides plus, because this year's data is not here. This is last year's data. And so when we calculate a safe ride, it is a ride from position A, from destination A to destination B, which a woman has provided another woman, a woman driver has provided a woman customer without any problem. And so we map that and we monitor that. And that is how the safe rides data has come. In addition, like I said, we do a lot of community level, deeper community level work. So till date, we have reached out to 120,000 women and their families, and made them aware that women can have a career in non-traditional livelihood, especially transport. We've reached out to young men and who become change agents for us, and they are supporting women to work in these communities itself, same communities. Some of the women whom we have trained are being able to access their, right to education now after becoming successful drivers, after having control of the money. They have control over their own money, so they have now started their education. And we've also, like I said, enabled young people and resource poor women to acquire their basic citizenship documents. We had seen this story before. This is some of our work during COVID. And in the story, for example, the woman with whom we start the story, the video that we were talking about right now is working with the Australian Embassy, and she's a driver there. So it's a matter of pride for us that, we've been able to open some markets for these women, and we keep, trying our best to open new markets. Right now, we are advocating with the Delhi government very aggressively so that women can drive buses in Delhi. We started our advocacy in 2014, and because of which the one bus driver in Delhi is the person who's been trained by Azad. But there were height restrictions and there were other normative things that did not enable or create a pipeline of women bus drivers. And we are trying to work around that. So our advocacy right now is to create another market for women as bus drivers. Thank you so much. You may reach out to me, and these are all the details of our social media, etc. Thank you. Over to you, Tejaswi.
Thank you, Amrita. It was such a lovely, the endeavors, the initiatives that you explained so much in details. It shows the kind of thought that has gone into, supporting women from different parts, different walks of life. It's a really heartwarming story, and thank you for sharing that journey so beautifully with us. So now I'd like to open the floor to the audience to if they have any questions. We're happy to take them on. And I believe, Amrita, you have another meeting to jump to at 11 o'clock. So yeah, we'll try to keep it as short and try to get in as many questions as we can in that time. So yeah, audience, please post your questions. In the mainland, before we get any questions, since it's not showed up on the screen yet, I have a question for you. One is, you're presently in 8 cities right now. So what is your expansion plan? Like, how many more cities do you plan to, start your, make it as a base and support women in other cities?
Good question. We would love to have partners and expand to many other cities, but so we are always on the lookout for partners who want to help us expand, because setting up an office in another city takes time. We've just set up one in Chennai and expanded to the southern region. So southern region is something that definitely we are targeting to expand more. We want to, because east we've got Kolkata and Bhubaneswar. Delhi we've got Jaipur. North we've got Delhi and Jaipur. In the central part we've got Indore, and we've also got Ahmedabad in the west. So yes, we had tried. We have always been open to partnerships, and we keep trying actively to reach out to whoever is ready to partner with us and take this concept and idea forward, because we think the more partners we create, the more the idea spreads as well. It's not always the idea that we go and set up an office, but scale up is a model. And in today's world, in today where we all have limited resources, we all have issues with, especially in the context of COVID, where we say that the economy has taken its downturn, it's taken a downturn, it's taken its toll, especially the transport sector has taken its toll.
Quite a hit,
because for a long, even the entire tourism and transport sector, it's taken a huge hit. About 70% of your revenues have been down, right? So in that space, yes, while resources are minimum, partnerships are the best way that we can take our concepts and ideas forward at scale. So we are always open.
Right. So the other question that I have for you now is, have you been approached by people from the tourism industry to partner with? What have those partnerships looked like, and what do you think is the scope of collaborating with travel agencies for your organization?
Again, I'm saying that collaborations, partnerships are something that we always are open for. Yes, we do have some collaborations with tourism agencies. We do a lot of international tourism agencies, because a lot of international single women who travel prefer to hire Sakha cabs, are especially for not just in-city travel, but also for across-city travel, especially women who come and want to do a Delhi, Jaipur, or the Golden Triangle. So that kind of partnerships we already have. We have partnerships with people who help us, through whom we have young women and single women travelers who come and who hire. We are also, as Sakha Cabs, we have a counter at the international airport in Delhi, and we also have it in Indore as well. So we have 2 counters, so which is also a very recent thing that's happened in 2019, and just pre-pandemic. So now the counters are there, but yes, we have to see the amount of footfall also. So, and we are happy to partner with more.
So operationally, how does it look? When you're traveling with let's say, even when you're doing an intercity sort of travel, a longer itinerary, what are the challenges that are faced by the women drivers? Like, what are the facilities they require? If you can give us a little bit of information about how it works operationally, that would be helpful.
Yeah, great. So good point that you raised, because infrastructure is something that we also advocate for very actively and aggressively. Infrastructure on the roads. How many safe washrooms are there on the roads? Because especially for intercity, or even within the city, that's one of our that's been our long-term advocacy. And we have we have done a video with Breakthrough using our drivers on we need washrooms. It's more of using the space to, in a fun way, to advocate for washrooms which are not just clean and hygienic, but also in spaces which are not isolated and secluded. Right. So people can access it. That is one of the big challenges that we face, both in in-city as well as intercity travel. The other is, safe houses, or this kind of restrooms so women drivers would not be very comfortable, say, staying in just any restroom around this, because they have to be safe as well.
Right.
They have to. So definitely, as here Sakha steps in and says, these are the non-negotiables with a client who hires a woman driver. That is how we advocate for women's safety as well.
Right.
But and of course the women themselves, if you've heard what was said by the women, they are so confident that they know they will not compromise, because they are aware of their rights now. So they will not compromise and say that we will, if they are unsafe, if they are feeling unsafe, they will be very upfront about it and be very they will ask for information. They will reach out to Sakha or Azad, say we are facing this challenge, and that's how women have been doing. We are facing this challenge, we need support, so give us support. And that's one of the ways that we have also grown in terms of our advocacy, because women themselves now are very, very vocal about their challenges.
Right.
They themselves are talking about the issues. So right now we are actually doing a series on the Azad social media on women who are talking about why they want to become bus drivers. So they themselves talking to the government, saying that this is the next step in our empowerment, and why don't you open this journey for us?
Yeah. That sounds great, Amrita. I think, and we'll keep in touch to get more details about how operationally it would work. But this is a great, overview of what is expected and, required when collaborating with you if travel agencies were to do it. So we have a couple of questions now. Let me just quickly ask you the questions. So we have a question from Pratik, and he says, kudos for the great work. You mentioned about diversification apart from transport. Are there any other sectors that you're looking to develop or come up with for women who are not comfortable or interested in driving? And how difficult is it to instill confidence in these women to take up driving jobs? So 2 questions.
Yeah. So the confidence bit, I'm sure, I mean, I don't really have to talk about it. I think the video has done its story.
Yeah.
It is the fact, that is the reason why we take that 7 to 8 months training. Because, confidence doesn't come overnight.
Right.
And there are measures also inbuilt in the spaces that we are, that we work. So for example, we have spaces within our training where we encourage women to speak up. We encourage women to go out and take part in other spaces where, our women trainees speak at other, say they are all online trained now. They're speaking at webinars. They're speaking at multiple occasions where, they represent their voices. Either it is occasions where local NGOs are asking other women to speak. So, confidence is not something that happens overnight, and we realize that. And hence, confidence is not something that we have a challenge with, because over that 7 to 8 months that we, or 6 to 8 months that we train these women, there are ample opportunities provided to these women to speak up, to speak out, to challenge norms. And also there are spaces created. So we have something called a tool. We've created a tool called Badlav Ka Safarnama, which is like actually a visual tool. And I had that on my screen. I'll just show it to you, just to showcase what I'm talking about quickly. This is the one. And this is like a visual tool which showcases the person's journey right from the entry to Azad, what kind of training they go through, and how they navigate the training. What are they doing? All these cards are of women themselves, and these are cards where women actually also, these are cards that they speak, they track their own journey through this. Where are they in this journey? And we create bi-monthly spaces where they speak about their journey. In a group, in a small group, a space is created where they put their card themselves and say, this is what I've learned. And this is how I've navigated that space. So I faced this challenge. So I learned my self-defense, and while I did not hit anybody, but I got a lot of confidence to challenge the situation on the road when I saw two men harassing a woman. So creating those spaces, inbuilt spaces for women to speak about their stories, that also helps them gain that confidence. So this is one of the things. The other part was other opportunities of livelihood. Yes, other opportunities of livelihood. When this year we did a very extensive, detailed planning with our communities to see whether have we done our bit in transport already. Women in transport, can we also branch out to other areas of non-traditional activities? There are people who are training women as masons, carpenters, plumbers. Let's get into that. And what we heard from our communities was, let's expand in transport first. Are women there as two-wheeler drivers, three-wheeler drivers, buses? Let's put ourselves there in transport, and then let's move on. But in addition to what we do, and since you had initially mentioned about the non-traditional livelihoods network, so Azad in 2016 had also initiated this process that, who are the other people who are working in non-traditional livelihoods? Let's get everybody together and see what we can do together to promote this idea of women doing something disruptive. And I'm the national coordinator of that network. And there we have women plumbers, women working as carpenters, women working as mechanics in Indore, women working as masons. So, so while we at Azad are not doing it right now, but we have that resource pool, and we've created that kind of a network where there is access for other women who want to take up these kind of opportunities.
Yeah.
So that's how it is.
That's really interesting. Good question, Prateek. Thank you, Amrita. One question from Vipin. He basically wants to know, like, you've shared a lot of inspirational stories of women who have been associated with Azad, and you briefly touched upon how you're involving young men also into the program to bring that change at a base level, right? So can you share an inspiring story of the journey of a young man who kind of, brought about that change, who was associated with
Absolutely. So I don't have the video as of right now. We have videos of young men as well. And we are right now actually going to be launching another campaign with young men who are themselves going to be talking about the need for participating in unpaid care work, and how men gain through it. So some of the stories that we have of young people are, specifically around violence and unpaid care work. So we have this story that it's there in our annual report, last year's annual report as well. And it speaks of a change where, this young boy says that earlier I was very dissociated from what is happening at home. But since I've started participating in this program and understanding that work at home is also something that I can contribute to, I've become more closer to my mother. And she shares that, the work she does is extremely strenuous and it takes a lot of, so now I help her in the process and she gets some free time. And I feel so nice because I've given my mother that free time to at least watch TV. Earlier, I could never see her free. Now I have started taking on that responsibility, little bit of responsibility. And my mother is free to watch TV for some time. And I feel really nice about it. So that is something that's very, very inspirational coming from a young person. This is a 14 or 15-year-old boy, and very, very inspirational. Also, there is during these cases that have happened of a nationwide protest around rapes that have happened and heinous crimes. These young people have actually stage demonstrations within their communities, and we have not asked them to do it. They have just impromptu done it to say that, we need to inform our communities that these things are happening, that this is the reality that women are facing. And this reality also starts from the homes. The way we behave with our women, the way we give them access. So that is the reason why we should let women go out, gain confidence, join the workforce, rather than saying that women cannot go out, outside spaces are unsafe, because we all make it safe together.
Yes.
So these are two of the things that come to my mind immediately.
Yeah, that's really nice. Thanks for sharing, Amrita. We don't have any more questions. And I know you have to jump to another meeting, so we'll call it a close. Thank you so much for being part of this webinar and taking us through the journey of Azad. And it's really nice to see that you're trying to change things, not just for it starts at the base level where everything needs to change from the thought process itself. And it's incredible to see the holistic approach that you've taken to support these women and improve the communities that they are living in. And it's really a eye-opening session for all of us, and to see how much you've achieved in it is also really amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure, Tejashree. We look forward to having many such spaces where we can talk about ourselves and we can collaborate. We look forward to major collaborations as well in the future. So it's always great to be in spaces like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amrita. And we'll catch up soon again to discuss more.
Look forward.
Collaborative. Thanks everyone for being part of the webinar. Please do fill in the polls. And we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday for another interesting webinar.
Thank you, Tejashree and Sita, for organizing this as well.
Thanks,
Thank you
Amrita.
so much.
Take care. Bye.